May I know the possible four-corner fight?
Well, I think it gives a diverse choice to the people of Singapore, and I think it's a good thing. That it also means that the voters themselves have to really do some study of us, and it is also for us to give to tell the voters our position and our personality as well, and how we are equal to the task.
But does that lower your chance of winning?
Well, it lowers the chances for everybody.
But they say that it will actually benefit Tony Tan too.
Well, it's difficult to say how, because I don't see this as a PAP versus opposition. I mean, the rationale behind your thinking is that PAP has got 60 and the opposition has got 40. So if the PAP vote 60 split, then obviously split two ways, they get 30 each on the average, and the opposition gets 20 each. But I don't think we should see it that way. The voters of Singapore should realize that presidential election is different from a general election. The government has been settled. All your HDB upgrading program, your asset management issues, all your jobs, meet the people's sessions have been settled in the general election. Now we are moving on to a different election to choose a president for a different purpose. And that purpose is to provide checks and balances on the government of the day. They have elected the government, and they are going to elect a president to check on this government. Who is the best person that will provide the checks and balances, that will fulfill the mission and objective of elected president? That is what the voters of Singapore should think for themselves, should consider very seriously. Not PAP versus opposition. That is the wrong way to go about it. I, as president, want to fulfill the mission of the elected president, and that is to provide checks and balances on the PAP government. PAP government because they are the ruling party. And I feel that I, being non-PAP, is the best person to fulfill that role.
Coming from that opposition background, some have said that you are the candidate, with that anti-government views. Will this affect your image during the campaign period? That
and you
might
actually said that you hope to raise the profile of the non-PAP segment. Right?
Yes, I did answer that question asked by Tessa yesterday too. That actually I do not see this as an anti-PAP platform. It's different. It's non-PAP. It was done. Obviously, I have to say something against the PAP. Otherwise, why am I standing against the PAP candidates? So that I've got to make clear. But now it's a different forum, different platform. And I will have to see. Well, this is the different objective from the GE. So my views are non-PAP, and I said non-PAP views are shared by a lot of people, not just the opposition, but also by a lot of people within PAP. I have received congratulatory messages and SMSs from even PAP cadres after I got my certificates of eligibility. And they have given very good advice, campaign advice to me. So I do not see myself appealing only to the opposition. Obviously, I hope I appeal to the bulk or all of the opposition, but I want also to draw the non-PAP voters to my side too, because I am playing a different role now.
Would you be open to discussions with other candidates who are not Tony Tan? And is there a possibility for horse trading here?
Well, I think it's up to the individual candidate to think for himself what he wants to do and to assess whether they should combine and all that. It must come from the individual himself.
What's your personal view?
Nobody has approached me. None of the candidates has approached me. So I will leave it at that. It's still early days. We have up to Wednesday for nominations. So all of us have to think. That offer should also be made to Dr. Tony Tan. He should also think.
Would you be willing to step down?
Not me, because I'm the only independent non-PAP voice here. And I don't think if you want to give a real choice to the people of Singapore, then there must be a non-PAP candidate. The other three, I see the other three as very closely related to PAP. And I think if I were to withdraw now, it will just... it's just back to square one.
Tony Tan is seen as a front runner. He has received substantial backing. Do you think that you have much to do to catch up with him?
Well, there's a lot to catch up because he has natural advantage and exposure the media exposure because of his position, his previous position as Deputy Prime Minister, and also current position as Chairman of SPH and also Executive Director of GIC. He has a lot of forums to speak his mind. So it's a natural advantage, and obviously we want to play catch-up during the campaign period of 9 days.
So Mr. Tan earlier he said that President and he will be donating half his salary. And he also said that he hopes other candidates might look at this as also an issue. Is this a concern?
Well, actually the ministerial salary, which is also pegged to the president's salary, were a concern of mine. It remains a concern of mine. I think I should see the presidency as a form of public service, and pay should not be the major attraction to entice people to come forward. I mean, they should come forward themselves. Like a lot of people, the former in the US, Paul Henry, forgot his full name. But anyway, they give up their lucrative career, $1 million salaries, bonuses for a job that pays only $150,000 US. That is the kind of spirit we should go for. Not money to entice people, but people coming forward as a form of public service rather than waiting to be invited to tea session or to lunch. No such thing. Public service must come from the heart. It cannot come from a cup of tea.
So if you are elected,
Surely, something,
would you donate?
Yeah, okay. I'll give the bulk of the salary to a worthy causes.
Mr. Tan, some did not expect you to get that cert. So you are considered as a dark horse. What are your thoughts on that? Were you surprised when you got the call?
Well, I made a comment. I was very confident of getting it because I satisfy all the requirements as I have mentioned in my press statement. So it is not a surprise to me. It would be a surprise to me if I had not been given a certificate.
You are being considered as a dark horse. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, dark horse, maybe because I come late into the game. I was born in the year of the horse. So I think a dark horse is a good symbol for me.
You said yesterday that you felt that Tony Tan's statement about, candidates should run for the office that they that exists, not for the one that they wish to have. You called that a motherhood statement. Can you tell us why you think that is a motherhood statement?
Well, I think it's a motherhood statement in the sense that it just addresses the issue because you can't be faulted, you can't be said wrong, you can't be faulted for saying the wrong thing. It is obviously true, that is why it is a motherhood statement.
It seems that individual candidates, except for Tony Tan, are interpreting the constitution based on their own way. Are the candidates actually clear on what are the powers of the president?
I disagree, actually. Obviously, the law minister is an interested party. He's a minister of the government. He obviously would like the president to just to do things that will not to be liking to the PAP government. But we have to go not just by the letter of the Constitution, but also by the spirit of the Constitution. For example, I don't remember seeing anything in the Constitution saying that the president has a unifying role. But everybody is talking about a unifying role for the president, including the Prime Minister. The law minister should check with the Prime Minister whether he has been saying something that is outside the Constitution.
If you became president, you would lobby for the government to disband Temasek. Can you elaborate a bit more about that? First of all, can you tell us, disband Temasek and who would buy them? And second of all, how would Singaporeans benefit from this disbanding? Obviously, disbanding is a word, but I did qualify ultimately. So ultimately, there's a long time frame. I don't expect it to be disbanded. It accounts for almost 60% of the economy. The company, so it would be very drastic to disband immediately. So there are jobs involved and there's contribution to the GDP, so you can't. But I do see disbanding as part of my economic philosophy to get the government out of business, because it is not the business of government to be in business.
So who would it be sold to?
Well, there will be interested parties, there will be private entrepreneurs who are in that business. For example, in the power business, utilities business, water business, all those things. I think the private sector has got enormous experience, capacity to take over. And if they are good companies, and the government tells us that they have run very good companies, there will be no shortage of takers.
All companies are foreign companies.
Well, we can open to the world to give us a good deal, to give the Singaporeans a good deal. I think the Singaporeans can get better service from people who are motivated to serve, not because they are civil servants or whatever. And the other benefit that the Singaporeans will get is that they will sell, if they sell shares, I would suggest that they can sell shares, and the government can use those money, the proceeds, to help to fund the infrastructure that I had in mind, education and health, and return to invest in the people.
But you mentioned also the benefit of it is that they would benefit from a wider entrepreneurship.
Yes, definitely. That's the whole philosophy of it, that we should encourage entrepreneurship. And
Disbanding Temasek will encourage entrepreneurship.
yeah, disbanding that will encourage.
In your speech yesterday, you talked a lot about what you want to do as the president in the economic strategy, but you didn't touch on other aspects of the economy in your speech, such as financial services, taxation, unions. How as president would you address those very key areas?
Okay, yeah, it's I have only 20 minutes. I can't. Obviously, I have covered taxation in my earlier paper. I think that the people are overtaxed, and the fact that you have surpluses, accumulators, huge surpluses every year, more than 10, 20, 30 billion dollar in some years, shows how do you get surpluses? It's excess of revenue over expenditure. So, by having more revenue than necessary to provide to finance government service, you are overtaxing the people, and I think that's wrong.
How about the financial services sector and the unions?
The financial sector is something that I'm close to and close to my heart, and I think they are worth promoting. Financial services sector. The unions have a role to play. I hope they play a constructive role, and I do not want them to be so close to the government, because even the late President Mr. Ong Teng Cheong did make some statement about that too, that he tried to organize a strike without letting the government know. Why should you put a government minister in that situation of conflict, that he has decided within his heart that he is first a unionist and not a minister?
So how would you encourage the unions to divorce themselves from the government? How would you encourage the unions to divorce themselves from the government?
Well, they should not. For example, the SecGen should not be the minister in government. I think they have two different roles to play. They should not, or she should not assume who is he fighting for the union, for the workers, or for the government, which has got greater consideration. The economy, the businesses, and all that. Potential source of conflict, and that I don't think any single man can resolve that conflict. There is no Superman in this world.